we could fly.
Welcome to this new season of the Have a Cup of Johanny podcast. So I want to title this new season that I'm embarking on with I'm Growing. So this is going to be the season of growth. And that's what I'm going to share with you throughout the season. So I thank you for coming over here and sitting with me. And I hope you enjoy. Hello, everyone. So here's the situation. I overextended myself. I overcommitted to a project with a partner in that project for which I could not sustain. When that partner told me that that was enough, that my being unreliable, it was not good, and they would leave that partnership, that stopped me and made me think quite a lot, because I committed to something and I committed to someone, but I was not able to completely follow it through. And that was just horrible. It's the feeling of failure. It's the feeling of embarrassment for that failure. And it is the feeling of letting somebody down because you're not able to uphold your end of the bargain. And that was me that wasn't able to uphold their end of the bargain. When I overcommitted, I failed to have an analysis with myself and with my life, an honest analysis, I want to say, with myself and with my life. So that way I can see if I can commit to something like this and commit for a long term. Without having that analysis, I committed to something and it was a big fail at the end. And that happened because I didn't set boundaries. And this is something that I am very aware of when it comes to me, but it has never hurt me as bad as it just did, where I let somebody else down. I was unreliable, unprofessional, and somebody wasted their time. And that is really on my part. That was really bad. Because of how it affected me, I am able to stop and think and come up with a plan so that way it doesn't happen again. And that's when I realized that while I do talk about setting boundaries and how important they are and how I'm setting boundaries, I am not completely foolproof when it comes to that. This is going to be a continuous work in progress when it comes to me and setting boundaries, because each situation is going to require different kind of boundaries. It's going to require different kind of diplomacy and different kind of verbal exchange and communication when it comes to the boundaries that I'm setting. But at the crux of it is, I'm going to need to find a way to say no clearly and kindly to things that I cannot sustain and cannot commit to, because I either cannot physically or mentally, or just don't want to, because there are those things. Not so much now, but before it used to be that way. And I think that's why I thought I had it together when it comes to setting boundaries, because I'm at that age where I'm completely done with doing things that I don't want to do. I hate to say that, but before, when I was younger in age, I used to drag myself and do these things that would deplete me mentally. It would just like take the joy out of me, just like suck it out of me. And I used to do that because I had this FOMO, fear of missing out, thought that the opportunity will not happen again, that I would not be able to spend time with that person in another scenario, in another situation. So I will push myself. And I realized that I was pushing myself to please others, not necessarily to please me. So now that I'm in this age, I don't do that, because now I know that life is too short, and I'm gonna have fun. I'm gonna do things that I want to do. And I'm not going to do things to please others. I'm going to seek a win-win situation so that way I can also enjoy myself, because I'm not putting myself through misery. So because of that, because I stopped doing things that I don't want to do, I thought I had this whole setting boundaries things figured out, but I don't. Because here's the kicker, people. I am very optimistic when it comes to things I want to do. And my head is mostly in the clouds. And I need somebody like my husband who is that rock that kind of like tethers me down to the ground. So I'm not this bird, this kite flying aimlessly. And if I don't have that, I will fly aimlessly. I will shoot for those stars and hit nothing at all because I feel so optimistic that I can do anything and everything. People that say, like, I think I can do anything. I'm one of those people and I really believe it. So when I commit to things, I don't think of the time constraints. I don't think of how hard things can get. I really just focus on the positive outcome of that, of the positive end result. And that bit me in the behind really hardcore this time around. It showed me that I am not setting boundaries as well as I thought I had. So let's go into Google so that way I can see what do other people think about setting boundaries. And one that really resonated with me was scienceofpeople.com. They have an article on how to set boundaries. And it says here, people with solid boundaries tend to have lower levels of stress and higher self-esteem because they prioritize their well-being. On the other hand, people without boundaries may inadvertently let others take advantage of them. They may lack self-confidence, a sense of purpose, or a clear identity to guide them through life. Counselor Dr. Dana Nelson writes, in work or in a personal relationship, poor boundaries lead to resentment, anger, and burnout. People without boundaries can be easily persuaded into things they don't want to do because they may be acting out of guilt or obligation rather than self-love. So true. And then I was reading even more over here. And they have this nice chart with 2 columns in it. One column is signs of healthy boundaries, and the other one, potential signs of unhealthy boundaries. And here is the one that really resonated with me. Signs of healthy boundaries: own your time. The opposite of that, overcommit your time to others and leave little time for yourself. Yes, that is me. But I do it not so much out of guilt. There is some guilt there. I do it more because I want to do it, and I'm not looking at my time and already like hard commitments that I have, honestly. And that's what gets me into trouble. So for me, I will need to set boundaries while being realistic with my constraints that are already implanted into my life at this time. So I think for me, it's not just about setting boundaries, but it's setting boundaries with honest limits, because I can't be in the clouds thinking that I can do everything. That is a great sentiment to have. And I've been having it for almost all of my life. And it has worked wonders for me, but it's not helping me when it comes to setting boundaries and being clear and honest with myself about what I can and cannot do. The action that I need to take from now on when it comes to the setting boundaries, being honest with myself, that really is the crux of it all. And I'm scrolling through right here and through this article, and there's another part where it says openly communicate your boundaries. Ooh. And it says right here, as social psychology researcher Brene Brown says, clear is kind, unclear is unkind. Did that resonated with me? Yes. I'm going to look at myself in the mirror after this episode. Be like, look, Johnny, this is what you have time for. This is what you don't have time for. Okay? And the way that I'm going to go about being clear and honest with myself while I'm setting boundaries and understanding my time limits and my constraints is I'm going to be asking myself these questions. The very first question is, Johanny, do you have time? Johanny in the mirror will be like, well, you will need to take from here or from here or from here. Let me explain. Time does not grow on tree, kind of like money. That's me talking to me because I wish it would. I wish I could add time to my day, but time is limited. That's all the hours that I'm going to get. So and I was thinking about this in the shower, so I have to sacrifice some things. I mean, there's just no other way. There's not going to be a 25th hour in the day. Once again, me thinking about what I did and how I've overcommitted and just affected somebody else and our project together has really made me think these things through. And this is something that I have thought about. Like, the first question I need to ask myself is, do I have time? And just be honest, because the answer for that, regardless of what it is no. So then the next question will be, what are you willing to let go of? So that way you can embark on that endeavor. For example, I get up at 4 in the morning, and that is as early as I am willing to get up because I have noticed that if I get up any earlier than that, I am not as effective throughout the day because now I'm tired. And because I tried it, I'll get up earlier for emergency purposes. If something requires me to be up at an earlier hour than that. But thankfully, that's really rare when that happens. It happens, but it's very rare. And when that happens, then yes, I get up at 3. That means I will need a Red Bull like at 2 p.m. just to get me through the hump because I am tired. And when I'm tired, I'm not my best. When I'm not my best, I'm not as effective. So that's what I'm talking about when it comes to me being realistic with my time and asking that question. Okay, you don't have time. Okay, so what are you willing to take away from? And I already know that I'm tapped out when it comes to sleep. Unless it's an emergency, because I get up at 4 to give myself an extra hour before I get in the car and go to work. That extra hour for me is very important. That's where I do an extra ride in the bike, where I drink water so that way I can start my digestive system, and where I do a mindful activity. I listen to either Cognitive Bloom app, or I listen to Headspace, do something mindful. And that's a really short bite, like maybe 10 minutes in there that I use in that extra hour. And I write sometimes. That's usually what I used to do, but now kind of like the workout is taking more of that hour. But I know that that's it. That's all that I have. All I have is one extra hour before I go to work. Once I go to work, that's it. That's my time. That's there. That's what I do there. And then I come back, and when I come back, it's just time for me to talk with my family, spend time with my family, eat dinner with my family, and then go to bed so I can do it all over again. So I'm pretty tapped out. On the weekends, and this is usually the time that I've been sacrificing a lot. As you can see, that was a sign of an unhealthy boundary, right? If I go back to this article here, and that is, overcommit your time to others and leave little time for yourself. When I was committed to this project, I was recording during Saturdays and editing. And so and then after that, that was time for me to spend with my family, because I just didn't want to do anything else when it comes to personal projects, because if I did anything else, that means that I will take away from them. And I didn't want to do that because they already don't get enough of me throughout the week. So a little bit of Saturday and most of the Sunday, that was it. And I continue to get up earlier in the day. Every day I get up Monday through Friday, 4 in the morning. So I have that 1 hour for me. And then Saturdays and Sundays at 5. So I have 2 hours for me. And then the rest is for work or family or personal projects. So essentially, that's what I did. I gave my free time to this project, and then when it started conflicting with the demands on my career, that shifted now into my off time, because now I'm moving from one state to the next. So that means that I'm gonna be doing certain things that I don't usually do during the weekend when I'm usually available for this project. And I my mind just got maxed out on capacity and simply forgot. And that is like the lamest answer that one can give, to say I just forgot. But it's like, when I say I don't have no other excuse other than I totally forgot that we were meeting at this time. It was simply that. But that's the result of overcommitting myself and not writing it down as I should, being so tired of everything else that I was doing that I couldn't remember like I usually do. So you see, I have a problem. Let's go back to the questions. Okay. So another question that I plan on asking myself is, am I putting myself in a situation that will deplete me without having an opportunity to recharge? So it goes back. The crux of this, listeners, is that if I take and take and take from my time, it's essentially going to take and take and take from my physical and mental energy. It's like a math problem, right? So if I take and take and take, I can't get into the negative. Take that with a grain of salt, because I'm kind of bad at math. But I can't take and take and take to the point where I'm at the negative when it comes to time and energy and mental space, without having a positive number there to, at the very least, even myself out. So that is another question, not just like, do you have the time? Okay, no. What are you going to sacrifice then to give that project time? I'm also going to be asking myself, well, if you do that, if you do, right? If you do take on that additional project, right? Because you're going to sacrifice this or this or that on your schedule already. Have you allocated your recharge time? Because I look at myself like a battery, like an energizer buddy, like a battery. Take and take and take without having that pause to recharge is not gonna do me any good. I'm gonna be poo-pooed out. The last question that I wrote down that I'm gonna ask myself, especially when it comes to projects like this, long-term projects, and that is it sustainable with the schedule that I have now? Because this is where my optimism sometimes gets me into trouble. And that is because I think I can do everything. I can do everything I set my mind into, bar any shortcomings, any real life time constraints or anything like that. It's just like, I can do it. I can do it. That's my mindset. And I take over it. And then when the ball falls on my face, that's when we have problems. But yeah, so that's another question that I'm going to ask myself. Is it sustainable? And once again, this is about having an honest and hard look at me, my schedule, and really understanding what I can and cannot do. To encapsulate all of this, the resolve that I have for when it comes to setting boundaries is to be aware of the potential signs of unhealthy boundaries and assessing myself and taking a pause. Don't be so fast, so cheerful to say yes until you have analyzed everything, Johanny. You hear that, Johnny? That's what we're going to do. This is so cheesy. But in all honestly, it's all introspective work. It's at the end of the day, the resolve, the resolution for this, for me, is being able to talk myself down through these questions that I just asked myself on this episode, so that way I can have a more realistic view, a more realistic analysis. So when I do say yes or when I do say no, it's because it's either doable or not doable. So it's set on a realistic basis. And that, in essence, listeners, is the resolution, the resolve that I have here when it comes to setting boundaries. And here we are at the end, and I want to thank you. You could have been sitting down, driving in your car, in your shower, wherever you are, listening to a plethora of other podcasts, but you decided to listen to this one. And for that, I am so appreciative. Thank you so much. And I hope to have you again on the next one. Okay. So see you later. Bye.
Oh, we could fly.
Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to follow and subscribe to the show. See you on the next episode. Bye.
Oh, we could fly.